understand I'm not a meat eater, I'm a vegetarian, I just don't understand it. I'm thankful to see church starting to build up again. There's still kids missing, but that's fine. Can anyone guess what the theme is of today? Almost. It is gratitude, but for those of you that don't know the difference, don't worry, I will get you to tell me the difference later. I will start off by reading Psalm 100, which I'm thankful for is not a long one. Shout with joy to the Lord, all the earth. Worship the Lord with gladness. Come before him, singing with joy. Acknowledge the Lord is good. He made us, and we are his. We are his people, the sheep of his pasture. Enter his gates with thanksgiving. Go into the courts with praise. Give thanks to him and praise his name. For the Lord is good. His unfailing love continues forever, and his faithfulness continues to each generation.
We're going to sing now, and we're going to sing joyfully and thankfully. And whatever's going on in our lives, there is always something to be grateful for, isn't there? So we're going to focus on that this morning as we worship. A few years ago, I had quite a powerful worship experience where I felt like I worshipped properly for the first time, and I felt like there was a channel that opened up between me and God, and it was a channel of communication and connection. And when that happened, I realised that nothing else that was going on around me mattered. So with that in mind, let's open our hearts and our souls and sing like nobody but God is listening, and it will make a beautiful sound, even if you think you can't sing. So Father God, hear our grateful praise this morning. Amen. Let's stand. If you're able to.
Praise
you to start talking to each other, to ask each other what is the difference between thankfulness and gratitude, and to discuss what is the actual definition of gratitude. So if you want to turn around and start talking to each other, you're welcome to get on to the front. Have you all finished? Can those with loud voices quickly throw what they have at me? And I'll try and catch anything important.
They're both the same.
They're both the same?
Wrong.
Oh, that's mean.
You realise it was a quiz.
Go on, Anne.
This came up with gratitude and attitude.
I think thankfulness is tied up with relief.
Okay. And what was it you said?
Gratitude and attitude.
Gratitude and attitude. I suppose it is actually, yeah. I feel as a British person we do go through our politeness quite a bit. We say sorry and thank you a lot. Do we always mean it when we say thank you? For me, gratitude is so much more. It actually means something to you. It means something to them. The definition I grabbed off the internet says, gratitude is a feeling of thankfulness or, I can't read my handwriting, as for gifts or favours. But when it had the synonym list, which I've just been told the definition of the synonym, had things like reverence, which is like respect. So you don't always respect people you say thank you to. You always say thank you to people in supermarkets. People you are paying to do something. And thank you for gratitude is more of they gift you something. It's a gift. It's something free to use from them. So gratitude means so much more than thank you. Emily has 5 ways she's going to show you how to develop gratitude.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw my notes, but I've kind of loosely titled this the attitude of gratitude because that sounds really snappy. So it is very much an attitude, and I sometimes do a bit of mindfulness to help focus my mind. I think prayer is the ultimate form of mindfulness, but there are some other, I guess, more secular things that are perceived as mindfulness practices. And I've got 5 here that will help us to develop an attitude of gratitude. And the first one is to keep a gratitude journal. And you don't have to necessarily write things down, but just kind of make a mental note of things that you're grateful for each day. Practice present moment awareness. That's the art of being fully present. That helps you to be grateful for what you have right now in this moment, and that can help to shift your perspective. Show appreciation for your friends and family. Focusing on that positive will encourage people to keep doing good things. If you encourage them in it, they'll think, yeah, I'll do more of that. And that just makes everyone happier. And replace complaints with gratitude. That speaks for itself, really. And the 5th one is think bigger than yourself. And reading that from a Christian perspective, I obviously think to God. And when we're getting kind of caught up in what's going on in our lives, if we think bigger than ourselves, we think to God, who is the biggest thing ever. And that can just help us to remember to be grateful for the things that we have in our lives. So going back to that point of practicing present moment awareness, we're going to sing a song. It might not be very familiar to some of you, but just go with it. And it's called Today is the Day, and it's really helping us to focus on right now and the things that we can rejoice for right now in this moment. So would you like to stand to try and sing along with this song?
So much more.
to stop to thank you for all that is good in our lives. Our blessings are many and our hearts are filled with gratefulness for the gift of living, for the ability to love and be loved, for the opportunity to see the everyday wonders of your creation, for sleep and water, for a mind that thinks and a body that feels. We thank you too for those things in our lives that are less than we would hope them to be, things that seem challenging, unfair or difficult. When our hearts feel stretched and empty and pools of tears form in our weary eyes, still we rejoice that you are as near to us as our next breath, and that in the midst of turbulence we are learning and growing closer to you. In the silence of our souls, Lord, we thank you most of all for your unconditional and eternal love. Amen.
There is
and we love you. Sit down.
Do I have a couple of volunteers? There's no children
You
around,
guys
so.
at the back.
Oh, right. They're in the back.
You.
It's okay, it won't take a second, we're only giving stuff out. It's okay if you give up as many stars as you can. Hands over there, it's okay if you give those up, please. Thank you. What I want you to write on the stars are something you find gratitude for or thankfulness for. And you'll see at the end what we're going to be doing with them. If you want to take more than one, please do. I think I made over 40 to 50, and there's less of you here, so some of you get to. There will be a video played, and here's a video played while you do this.
Whatever comes
two to collect collection, one person to collect all stars back up.
So we're going to sing another song while we're doing this, and after that what is going to happen is the stars are going to be put onto a night sky backdrop. So our stars of gratitude are going to light up the darkness of this sky, and the young people at the back are going to be attaching them during Geoff's preach after this next song. But we're going to remain seated to sing this one. It's called Counting Every Blessing, and it's the song that was playing as we arrived this morning.
Okay, we're going to invite Geoff up to come preach. So the worship team, you can always go sit down. I'm just going to pray for Geoff and If anyone else wants to pray as well, please feel free. Lord, I thank you for Geoff and him being the leader of our church in our ministry. Lord, please bless him for all he does and bless his words. May they bless the people of this church and help us with our lives.
Alex, thank you ever so much. Emily, thank you so much for leading us in worship and leading us in gratitude. And a psalm of gratitude, a psalm of grateful praise, a psalm for giving grateful praise. Psalm 100, we read it earlier. I'm going to ask if we could put it up again on the screen right now. So we can have a look at this psalm again, Psalm 100. The version going up there is the English Standard Version, so it's slightly different if you're looking at it in the New International Version, but don't worry about that. No, that's not the right one. It's the one just at the point in the service, is it not there? There it is, that's the one. Make a joyful noise to the Lord. All the earth serve the Lord with gladness. Come into his presence with singing. Know that the Lord, he is God. It is he who has made us and we are his. We are his people and the sheep of his pasture. Can I see the smiles? Wow, this is who we are. Enter his gates with thanksgiving and his courts with praise. Give thanks to him. Bless his name. For the Lord is good. His steadfast love endures forever and his faithfulness to all generations. Wow. That's why we come carrying every blessing. Carrying every blessing. Counting every... Can you feel what we've been trying to do this morning? That's what worship is, isn't it? Isn't it? It's coming to God with hearts that are overflowing with gratitude. We live in a selfish age. Shall I have a rant? No, but some of you love to rant, don't you? I do as well. Rant about the modern world. And about, all this kind of... I can't do it because my phone's over there playing music. But, take a photo of me. Here we go. Oh, where am I? Let's get this in the background. Here I am. This is me. All right. We can mock all of that, but we do live in the selfie generation, don't we? Where actually we're focused very much on ourselves. And, we're encouraged to think you're worth it. Why do you need to buy this particular product? Because you're worth it. Well, I'm here to tell you you are worth it. I'm not here to disabuse you of that notion, but we are focused on ourselves. We're forced almost by the modern world to think about me and what is right for me and how I am. How am I feeling? How am I doing? There's a story about a poor family. They were really concerned because their little boy hadn't started talking at all. I know some of you have been through this, perhaps with your own children. The problem went on for a long, long time. And one day when Mum was making the dinner, she became really overwhelmed with the issue. She couldn't carry on. She lost her concentration. She burned what she was cooking. The little boy tasted it. And he shouted out, "I can't eat this, it's burnt! It's horrible!" And the rest of the family were aghast. They stood there with their mouths open, the mum, shocked, completely shocked, but happy that the little boy had spoken. The mother hugged him. And she said, "Why haven't you been talking?" And he said, "Up to now, everything has been okay." That's the world we live in, isn't it? We're very good at noticing what isn't right and complaining about it, and complaining about our lives. We compare all the time. Why are we like this? Well, I think we're naturally like it, and the world that we live in our part of the world, just encourages that, because it probably means you're going to go out and spend money on something. Whether that's something that will make you feel good, or an experience that will make you feel good, or something. We are being hardwired now to be dissatisfied. When Peter Capaldi first started as Doctor Who, one of his lines was, "I'm Scottish. That means I can complain about things. I can really complain about things." I don't think we need to be Scottish to do that. Someone wrote, a critic called Robert Hughes wrote, "We live in a culture of complaint in which people believe they are entitled to have all of their desires fulfilled." I'm sorry, I've made my finger bleed. I didn't quite manage to do that. It's in blood already. I'm complaining about my finger now. We take this sort of as a birthright. We deserve a high level of happiness somehow. That's our birthright, isn't it? And when it doesn't happen, then we'll call ourselves a victim. That's who we are. People grumble about... It's not that bad. Thank you. I'm not going to bleed to death. It's all right. Thank you. Oh, yes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you for that tissue. I am grateful, because I might have bled to death. We grumble. We grumble about our food, we grumble about work, people grumble about the government, we grumble about our spouse, about parents, about children, about neighbours, about our lives. Listen, and you hear thousand upon thousand grumbles. Ungrateful people are often agitated, restless, distracted kind of people, and we are bound to be a bit like that, however hard we try not to be. The Psalms, a lot of them, not just this one, call us to be very different to that. They're pretty anarchic, really. It goes against the grain of how we're expected to be or encouraged to be. Because the Psalms want us to be a different kind of person, a joyful person, a not complaining person, a person who is full of, today's word, gratitude. Today's word is brought to you by, today's program is brought to you by the letter G for gratitude and God and goodness and generosity and grace and all these wonderful, wonderful things. And we love it when we see it, don't we? When we see it in other people, we hear about it, when you hear a story, a good news story. You maybe hear about parents who have forgiven the person who killed their son, and it just hits you in the face because that's not the way of the world. That's not what we normally do. And of course, they're not particularly grateful that they've lost their son, but somehow even in the most extreme circumstances, these people have learnt what life is really like and to find what they can be grateful for, even in the midst of the greatest of tragedies. We read stories about some of the hymns that we sing, and we've said these stories before, I'm not going to go into it. Horatio Spafford, who wrote It Is Well, It Is Well With My Soul. If you can't remember that story, I've told it at least a couple of times. Go away and look it up. He wrote those words not when it was all going right, but when it was all going wrong. He'd lost his family. He'd lost his wealth. He'd lost his income. He'd lost his worth. He'd lost his reputation. And oh, what peace we often forfeit when we forget to take it to the Lord in prayer. Take it to the Lord in prayer. Peter Scrivens, who wrote that, didn't write it because he just had a birthday and everyone was being nice to him. Read the circumstances of his life and how he wrote these wonderful words that encourage us to be grateful and thankful and turning to God in prayer. We need to do this. This is really what the psalm is all about, what all the psalms are about. We turn ourselves inside out, if you like, away from ourselves and towards God. Not just towards anything, but towards God. That's what worship is, turning away from ourselves. That's why when we are caught up in worship, it doesn't matter what's going on around us and the people around us and whatever else. It doesn't matter at all because we're caught up into the presence of God. Oh, we need to be better at worship. We need to be better at abandoning ourselves to the love of God and reminding ourselves of really who we are and what's going on. So that's what it is. I love the bells. I don't think there were any this morning. But sometimes, and on special occasions, and when they're practicing on Thursdays, I think it is, you hear the bells down at the church, don't you? The bells. Calling people to worship. I know that's not a very modern idea, and most people don't heed the bells and come along, but that's what they're there for. It's time to get together. It's time to lift the name of Jesus high. It's time for us to focus on God and not ourselves. It's time for us to do something which is totally against the grain of modern society. Come and worship. Come and lay down your lives. Imagine for a moment that you're a Jew. Just use your imagination. Jew in the ancient Near East, thousands of years ago. The time has come for one of the Jewish annual festivals. There were several throughout the year. And you are making the pilgrimage from where you live to the holy city of Jerusalem, and many others are as well. You're in a whole kind of group of people, and you can see on other roads converging towards Jerusalem, there are huge numbers of people coming together, thousands upon thousands, for these great festival pilgrim occasions. You're doing it because you are obedient to the law as laid down. You're doing it with your own families and your sort of families in the synagogues round and about. Your ultimate destination is the temple in Jerusalem. Your purpose is worship. Your motivation is thanksgiving for all that God is and all that he has done for you and your people. You leave home. You are determined, you are focused, you are expectant. But along the way, things start to change a little bit. It's a long journey. It's going to take many days. The sun, it's hot. Boy, it's hot. There's one thing we like to complain about, isn't it? Oh, it's hot. Never satisfied, no. But it's hot. You're enduring, it's hot on that dusty road. The path is unyielding and never-ending. The animal that you brought with you to sacrifice, well, it's burdensome. It will not go where you want it to go. And it's getting a bit smelly. The caravan that you're travelling with is noisy, and all you want is a bit of peace and quiet. You left home focused. Now you're frustrated. And you keep asking yourself, why on earth did I leave home to put myself through all this? You've lost sight of the reason that you're headed to Jerusalem in the first place. You go back home, but you've actually come further now than you've got to go, so you might as well carry on. And you press on. And when you get near to Jerusalem, grumpy, fed up, bad enough, you start to hear a sound. You start to hear a noise. A joyful noise, a beautiful noise, a harmonious noise. And as you reach the gates of the city, you see the source of that sound. There are greeters there, waiting to welcome you. And they don't greet you with a handshake, or even a hug. They strike up a song. And the words of the song start to sink in. And your frustrations start to melt away, and you regain that focus for worship. That's a journey that many, many pilgrims made in Old Testament times. That's exactly what would have happened. And the thing that the greeters would start to sing would be psalms like this. In fact, the Psalms 93, I think it is, up to 99 there, throughout the enthronement psalms. Psalms of going up. When you're going up to Jerusalem, you're going up to Mount Zion, the hill on which Jerusalem is set. You're going up to worship. And you're encouraged to turn away from the grumbling and turn away from all the stuff that we normally are and set our sights on God himself. And remind ourselves of how great he is and how wonderful he is. This is a call to worship that we know as Psalm 100. And for you and me, we may not be Jews, but life is a journey. We often say that, don't we? But it is. The destination of the journey is the very presence of God himself, which will be there one day, surrounding the throne of God, with people from all nations, all peoples, gathered together, united in Jesus. Oh, God longs for us to know him and for all to know him. But those of us who already know him, he longs for us to know him better. To know him for who he is, not what we can get out of him. So much of our thankfulness is about what we can get from God. Oh, thank you. I am so blessed. Everything's going right. Wonderful. God wants us to know something far deeper than that. And we're going to find out as we quickly look at this. Just three things I want to say as we look through this. And the first thing is about joy. Joy. In this version of the psalm, in that first verse, make a joyful noise to the Lord. I know that some of us think that when you get together with lots of people and there's worship going on, it is pretty noisy. It's biblical. So it's a joyful noise. Well, you might argue about that, but it should be a joyful noise. The joy bit comes from our hearts. It comes from what's going on inside us here, what God is doing and how we're responding to it. Make a joyful noise to the Lord, all the earth. Do you notice this is a command? This is a command. Be joyful. Make a joyful noise. And that tells us something about the nature of joy. Joy can be ordered. So joy is not happiness. Happiness comes and goes. It's elusive. And the more you chase it, the harder it is to find, very often. Happiness is not joy. Joy is something that God can give us if we want it. Happiness is based on what happens. It's thing-centered or people-centered or event-centered. And it's fickle. We lose it, we lose our happiness. But joy, real joy, is not thing-centered or people-centered or event-centered. It is God-centered. That's why I can have joy and you can have joy no matter what we are going through. Because no matter what shifts or changes or alters, God's nature, his character, his love, always remain the same. If God is who he is, if he is still alive and still in charge and cares for me, then I've got a reason to rejoice no matter what I am going through. This text commands us to be joyful. But it also tells us how to do it. How can we be joyful when we don't feel happy? We don't feel joyful. Well, it tells us worship. That's what it's about. Serve the Lord with gladness. We'll come on to the word serve in a moment, but it's the same word as worship. That's why we talk about a service of worship. It's exactly the same. And I love those things which say we gather together to worship and then we go out to serve. And that's all worship. That's when the service really starts. 12 o'clock or whenever it is. This week's service begins. Out we go. To live and serve God and worship him together. Worship is a sacred business, it's a serious business. I wish we had something of that festivity, that joy of the people of God, the Jews, coming together in those great festival occasions. That's what every Sunday should be like. As we meet and we worship and we pray and we eat and we talk to one another and we love one another and we encourage one another, we build one another up. Not only Sunday, other times too, but we have one particular moment in the week, that rhythm of the week, which enables us to do exactly this thing. And in that time we have an audience of one person, just one person that really matters, the Creator, the Sustainer, the ruler of heaven and earth. God himself is the audience of our worship. It's not you or me or us. What should happen when we worship together with people who stand up here and play instruments and do things is they should prompt our worship, which is lifted into the highest of heavens. We cannot do that if our hearts aren't right. Worship is firmly in here to begin with, but then it bursts out because you can't keep it in, and it needs some expression. We worship as the creature comes before the Creator, as the finite addresses the infinite, as the weak comes before the omnipotent, as the foolish come before the all-wise, as the sinful come before the holy. Worship is a serious business, and it changes us, and it infuses us with joy if we do it right, and if we give ourselves up to the King of Kings. But do you notice, in the light of that, the psalmist doesn't say, in the light of how serious worship is, when you come before God, you ought to have a very somber attitude. You should put on your best suit, and you should do things that really aren't too exciting. On the contrary, it says, when you worship God, your worship ought to be marked by joy, a joyful noise with singing, as we know the Lord, and he is God, and that we are made by. Enter with thanksgiving, with calls, with praise. Oh, isn't it wonderful? The first imperative in this whole psalm, the first order, is shout. It's shout. And some of the other versions do have the word translated shout. Make a joyful noise is just one Hebrew word that means shout! It does. Sorry. That kind of put the meter into red on the recording. A loud and joyful announcement of triumph, like a soldier who has won a victory on the battlefield. Something that cannot be contained. Faversham Baptist Church worship it shouldn't be like sitting in a doctor's waiting room. But it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be. We shouldn't worship as though we're stuck in a car in the middle of traffic or attending a funeral. That's not how worship should be. This psalm tells us what it should be about. When we come before God, we come before him with joyful shouts of praise, something welling up inside and overflowing. That's why you can't manufacture worship on Sunday. It won't happen unless we come. All of us come with our hearts open before God, living lives where we're talking to him, moment by moment, day by day, and we gather together and we just cannot keep it in. We had a hymn book at primary school called With Cheerful Voice. don't know if anyone else remembers with cheerful voice. A kind of greeny cover with sort of ribbony things on it. Anyone else have that one? Another one's just me then. Probably my memory. But I do remember, it had lots of good, thankful, grateful kind of hymns and songs in it, which was kind of what schools love to do. Thank you, Lord, for this fine day or this new day. Glad that I live am I. Oh, that was a good one. Now thank we all our God with hearts and hands and voices. Many others, often some of them based on exactly this psalm. All people that on earth do dwell, sing to the Lord with cheerful voice. And that's where they got the cheerful voice from. Him serve with what? Mirth. Him serve with mirth. What a word. Mirth. Do you think of the word mirth when you think about coming to church? Because you should. We should. Mirth. I think of Ken Dog when I think of the word mirth. That's how it should be. Some modern versions, well, not just modern versions, I think if you go back to some of the original versions, they have the word fear there. Oh, him served with fear. Now listen, that's not the cowering in the corner, frightened kind of fear. That's a fear of the awesomeness of the living God. And there is a proper outright fear of the awesomeness of God. And that's what that word is all about. It's not a wrong word. But I wish I could shoot the person who put fear in instead of mirth. Because mirth is entirely right and it's entirely in keeping with this psalm, and I don't get any of that sort of awesome sense of God's nature from this psalm. I get it from other psalms. But this one is just without a doubt a kind of unexploded bomb of praise waiting to go off. Mirth! Where's the tickling stick? There's so much in the daily news, isn't there, that we don't want to laugh. With its pain, there is misery. I'm not suggesting for one moment that we don't feel that we don't acknowledge that our hearts don't go out to that. Of course, there are moments when we are overwhelmed with grief, not only our own personal circumstances, but times when the weight of the world, and it seems so dire. And we feel that, and it's right and proper. But brothers and sisters, the antidote to that, because if it was just all that, crikey, we could never get up in the morning, would we? Is the sheer joy of knowing our God and coming and reminding ourselves of that fact. That's what we're doing now. Come on, too long. So joy is the first word I wanted to pick out, and I've already picked the second one out. Service is the next one. Serving the Lord with gladness. It's all about worship. Joy is about worship. Service is about worship. Come into his presence with singing. To serve the Lord is to worship the Lord. And I think the emphasis on the word serving the Lord means that we're expected, all of us, to be active participants in our community life together, in our worship life together. Isn't it great to see people leading us in worship and leading us in our service and welcoming people? We need more of that. Thank you to those who welcome people on the doors and people who prepare stuff with the children and for other things, but we need everyone to be part of what is going on. You've got stuff to do. Many of you come and serve teas and coffees for us and watch. We need everyone should be. And I know most of us here are. But we need a growing congregation of people committed to service. Worship is not a spectator sport. Just because we come and sit through a worship service doesn't actually mean we worshipped. We can be quite closed off. And we can sit here and it's not touched us. We've not been a part of it. It easily happens on Sunday. It touches all of us at times. Be honest. It does. You can actually tell because if someone says to you afterwards, well, how was the service? How was the worship this morning? Well, you can tell if you weren't really there or you didn't really participate because you start rating other people's worship.
The preaching wasn't very good. Or the singers were too loud. Or whatever.
You actually, if you were there, it would be all about what you experienced before the living God. And that would be the moment. But the command is to serve the Lord. The key thing, it's not what the preacher did, the musicians did, it's what anybody did. It's that we've all got this responsibility to serve the Lord. During the service, during our time together, during the week, in everything that we do. Anyone can be spiritual for 90 minutes on Sunday morning. But we're to worship throughout the week. Romans 12 says, in the light of the mercies of God, you should present your body as a sacrifice that lives, holy and acceptable and pleasing to God. It's the least you can do in the light of all that God has done for you. We count it as a privilege to serve the Lord. We don't do it complainingly, ritualistically, grudgingly or mechanically. We serve the Lord with gladness. It's not a duty, it's not about a day on a calendar or a set of circumstances or a particular mood we're in at any given time. We have a duty to give thanks to God for what He's done for us. Why? Because He's King and He is worthy of it. Joy, service. And worship. Both of those words mean worship, both of them describe worship, but worship itself. That's the goal of all of this. Know that He is God. Know it. Not just know it, but know it. Know that He is God. We need a change of focus. He's God, we are not. He's made us for Himself. He hasn't made us for ourselves. And yet everything in the world will tell you. You need to find yourself and discover yourself and your identity and who you are. You'll never do it until we know who we are in God. Know the Lord, that He is God. He is emphatic. He is God alone. That's why we worship, because no matter what is going on. God is not on a board of gods negotiating the outcome of your situation. He's God all by Himself. When I was a boy, they told me to sing, He's got the whole world in His hands. He's got the whole world. He has. He is the only, the one, and the only true and living God. Exodus 20 says, you shall have no other gods before me. Deuteronomy 6 says, hear Israel, the Lord your God is one. Isaiah 42 says, I am the Lord, that is my name. I will not give my glory to another or my praise to carved idols. God doesn't share His throne with anyone else. So the psalmist says, if you want to learn to be grateful, if you want to learn joy and service that leads you into worship, in whatever season, you've got to recognise God is God all by Himself and He deserves us worshipping Him. You didn't make yourself. We are the sheep, His people, the sheep of His pasture. There's no such thing as a self-made person. But I know you've worked hard. I know some of you need to get good degrees. You put in the hours, you've got the job, you're smart, you plan well, but you didn't get where you are on your own. Just mess around and let God not wake you up in the morning. You'll be reminded that our lives are not in our hands. We are here just for a moment, for a vapor, a mist. Gone the next moment. The only reason I have made it this far to this moment in my life is because of God. And the only reason I continue to be here is because He, for whatever reason, Himself, leads me here. God takes care of what belongs to Him. We are the sheep of His pasture. He's the great shepherd. The good shepherd. Sheep can't feed themselves. They can't provide themselves. They can't protect themselves. Sheep are doomed without a shepherd. But when you run to the cross of Jesus, when you trust in the good shepherd, the one who said, I am the good shepherd, the one who lays down his life for the sheep, the good news is that God will be your shepherd. He will feed you, He will lead you, He will watch over you, He will protect you, He will care for you. Know that He is God. Don't feel that He is God. Know that He is God. Oh, those moments, those wonderful moments when we do feel it, when it overwhelms us, we have that wonderful sense. Oh, yes, hallelujah, let's have some more of that. But it doesn't always feel like that. That's why we have to know it. And we know it today and tomorrow. Enter His gates with thanksgiving and His courts with praise. This is the only psalm with the title of Psalm of Thanksgiving. The Hebrew word for thanksgiving actually means confession. It's where we confess God, we confess His character, we confess His love and His goodness and His works. Open the door to God. Here's an analogy, and I need to finish. From the people of God coming to the temple in Jerusalem, entering Jerusalem through the gates in the wall, coming into the courts of the temple, that journey. They enter God's presence, enter with thanksgiving, thanking God for what he's done. Once through the gates, the worshipper enters the courts with praise. You go through the gates first, and that's thanksgiving. You come into the courts with praise. The thanksgiving is, oh, I'm so grateful. That's really good. Now it turns to praise. God, you're great. You are wonderful. How mighty you are. We extol God for who he is. We get a sense of movement from the outside to the inside, moving closer to the presence of God. I know he's not sitting there in that temple. The Jews didn't think he was literally visiting there, but that was for them the symbol of the very presence of our Most High God. Praise and worship. Thanksgiving, praise and worship. Joy through thanksgiving service, praise, worship. We're moving closer, worship. Praise is worship. It sets the stage for worship. Praise anticipates what is to come, entering the very presence of God. Praise precedes worship. Praise is the way into worship, and worship is the way to encounter God himself. When we praise God, it's like ringing the doorbell, making our presence known, letting him know we've come to see him. And when he hears our praise, he gets up and opens the door and invites us to come in. And when we go inside, we move. Thanksgiving to praise now. Praise to worship. In other words, praise is the vehicle into God's presence, and worship is what we do. Last week, are in the presence of God himself. Now, God is everywhere. God's revealed presence, though, the Bible is very clear about this, is in the midst of his people, where 2 or 3 are gathered. It doesn't have to be masses of people. But when we come together, we come with thanksgiving, we enter through praise, and then we worship. Has this been our experience? Is this what it's like? Not enough, in my opinion. But it's what God is calling us to. It's what this psalm is all about. He's chosen to reveal himself in this way. God is enthroned in the praises of his people. Praise creates the atmosphere for a Lord is with the King. Joy, service, worship. I could have talked about thanksgiving, but I can't run out of time. I could have talked about thanksgiving. That's not how we enter into worship so very often, but it's how we should. Well, you say it's easy to me, Geoff, because you don't know what I'm dealing with, you don't know what I'm going through, you don't know what I'm facing. With all that I'm carrying, how can I ever get to worship? You know, I can't even get thanksgiving and learn through praise and worship. You can. There are 3 reasons we should. For God is good, verse 5. That's why we should worship, because he is good. His plans are good, his purposes are good, his provisions are good. He is good all the time, no matter what is going on. He is good and faithful. But not only is he good, his love will never end. It will never give up. It endures forever. And the third reason is his faithfulness, which is the same now as it was to my grandparents and great-grandparents and great-great-great-grandparents and 1,000 generations before, and into the future if Jesus doesn't return. Let me finish by saying 2 things, and then we're going to hand over to which one? And the final thing we're going to sing in a moment is going to be that metrical psalm version from a few hundred years ago of Psalm 100. All creatures that on earth do well sing to the Lord. And we're going to sing it with an organ. An organ. Full winds is arranged with that. When we get to sort of put that really out, imagine we're in a cathedral. And then it really ring out as we sing it. Here's what the message says. On your feet now, applaud God. This is the version of Psalm 100. Applaud God, bring a gift of laughter, sing yourself into his presence. Know this, God is good, and God is God. He made us, we didn't make him. We're his people, his well-tended sheep. Enter with the password. Make yourself at home, talk in praise, thank him, worship him, for God is sheer beauty, all generous in love, loyal, always and forever. I talked about that here, Now Thank We All Our God, with Hearts and Hands and Voices, written by Martin Rickard, during the horrors of the 30 Years' War, 1618 to 1648, in the walled town of Eilenberg. And Eilenberg became an overgrounded refuge for the surrounding areas. The fugitives suffered from epidemic and famine. At the beginning of 1637, the year of the Great Pestilence, there were 4 ministers, Christian ministers in Eilenberg. One abandoned his post to go somewhere healthier and couldn't be persuaded to return. And Pastor Martin Brinkart officiated at funerals of the artillery. He was the only pastor left. He often conducted funeral services for as many as 40 or 50 people a day. Some 4,480 people in all. In May of that year, his own wife died. By the end of the year, the refugees had to be buried in trenches without services. They could not keep up. And he wrote, "Now thank you, Lord our God, with hearts and hands and voices, who wondrous things have done, in whom this world rejoices, who from our mother's arms has blessed us on our way with countless gifts of love, and still it is ours today. May this bounteous God through all our life be near us with ever joyful hearts of blessed peace to us, and keep us in His grace, and guide us where we're blessed, and free us from all ills in this world and the next. All praise and thanks to God the Father, now be given the Son, and Him who reigns with them in highest heaven, the one eternal God, whom earth and heaven adore, for thus it was, is now, and shall be evermore. Hallelujah. Great is the Lord. Worship Him. Serve Him. Father, please, make us a grateful people. Make us a not grumbling people. Make us a people who sing your praise and set our face towards you as you have set yours towards us, that we might better live in the joy and freedom of all that you created us for. We pray it for the glory and the sake of Jesus. Amen.
Words of thankfulness are now been put onto a night sky. We think earlier Geoff in the sermon mentioned how dark times may be here, especially when you look at the news. And being thankful for things and help us focus on the one who gives us all good things. And in the middle is the cross, because that is the one greatest gift we can do, not the cross, but Christ Himself. It says in James 1:17, whatever is good and perfect comes down to us from God our Father, who created all lights in the heavens. He never changes or casts a shadow. So, if you want to come up as the servants, take a look, please feel welcome. But after the last hymn will be our fellowship and time together. And so, thank you very much.
So shall we stand to sing? That's all right.
Sing to the Lord with cheerful
Go and be joyful.